Have you ever looked at the word millionaire and maybe thought, yeah, that's for other people, not really for me? Maybe it feels like some kind of exclusive club, you know, only for the lucky few, or maybe those born into wealth.
Right. That's a common feeling.
Well, get ready to maybe challenge that assumption. Today, we're doing a deep dive into what it truly takes to build significant wealth and achieve financial freedom, potentially reaching that first million.
And importantly, this isn't about secret tricks or like super risky ventures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about practical, step-by-step strategies and maybe just as important, the mindset that actually makes them work.
We've pulled together a really great stack of resources for you today. We've got structured plans like Dave Ramsey's 7 Baby Steps, flexible budgeting help from NerdWallet, some fundamental investing principles from Vanguard,
Right.
and this kind of holistic First Millionaire Journey roadmap.
Yeah, so our mission today is really to unpack all these different perspectives, pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, maybe some surprising insights, so you can start charting your own course to financial success.
Sounds good.
So let's unpack this.
All right.
Okay, so let's maybe kick things off by busting some myths. Because the whole idea of becoming a millionaire, it often feels incredibly out of reach for most people.
Yeah, it really does.
What's maybe the most eye-opening truth about who millionaires really are today based on what we've looked at?
That's a great place to start, because that First Millionaire Journey source, it really hits this home. The most surprising thing, I think, is that most millionaires are actually self-made.
Self-made?
Yeah. They didn't inherit it, didn't win the lottery. Often they started from, middle-class backgrounds. And they got there through consistent saving, smart investing, and this is a crucial, living below their means over a long time.
That really puts the power back in your hands.
It absolutely does. It feels achievable.
And that idea of consistency. That's fascinating. What's often overlooked there, I mean, everyone says be consistent, but...
Well, it's what the source emphasizes, right? It's consistency, not intensity. And the surprising thing isn't just that consistency is key. Everyone kind of knows that. But the real insight is how few people actually stick with it.
Okay.
That makes sticking with it the most underrated secret to wealth, You don't need to earn $1 million a year. You just need to consistently make smart financial decisions, month after month, year after year.
Like filling a bucket, drop by drop.
Exactly. Patiently, steadily filling that bucket. Eventually, it overflows.
That's such a great way to put it. And, speaking of the million, we all know $1 million isn't quite what it used to be, right? Inflation.
Yeah.
But the sources all seem to agree. It still represents a significant level of financial security. Independence. It's maybe not Hollywood rich, but it's a major milestone, a benchmark for real financial freedom.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it just means the dream of becoming a millionaire is, well, it's far more accessible than a lot of people realize.
Right.
It takes discipline, sure, and a methodical approach, but it's not some secret formula. It's about knowing the path and just sticking to it.
Okay, so we busted the myth. Wealth isn't just for the lucky few. But knowing it's possible is one thing. Actually doing it is another. Our sources seem to agree. It really boils down to 3 foundational actions working together. What are those, and where do we even start?
Yeah, that's the roadmap question, isn't it? It's all about earn, save, and invest. You really need all 3 working in harmony.
Earn, save, invest. Got it.
And for a lot of people, the first hurdle is just earning enough, feeling like saving is even an option. So yeah, maximizing your earning potential is often the very first critical step.
Makes sense. That First Millionaire Journey roadmap talks about this directly. It means focusing on getting and then honing those in-demand, well-paid skills.
Right. Things like coding, digital marketing, maybe sales, specialized trades.
And the key isn't just getting the skills right. It's continually learning. It's like a never-ending process.
Exactly. And building on that, career advancement is also vital. Are you regularly looking at your market value? Advocating for yourself.
Actively seeking promotions, maybe negotiating raises, being willing to switch jobs if it means a significant salary bump.
Yeah, that can dramatically increase your income over time. It sounds maybe a bit intimidating, but honestly, it's often the fastest way to boost your earning power.
And beyond the main job, what about multiple income streams?
Good point. exploring side hustles, freelancing, maybe even starting a small business. The First Millionaire Journey roadmap points out that even like a few $100 extra a month can speed things up dramatically.
It's about finding creative ways to bring in more cash flow, not just relying on that single paycheck.
Okay, so you're earning, money's coming in, great, but then comes the real test. Mastering the art of not spending it all.
Yes. The hard part for many.
NerdWallet, they put it pretty bluntly. If you spend everything you earn, you're basically building someone else's wealth, not your own.
Ouch. But true.
It sounds obvious, but it's where so many of us get stuck, right?
Yep.
Prioritizing needs over wants. That's the non-negotiable. Even when that shiny new gadget is, calling your name.
It's like that constant battle between present you and future you.
Yeah.
So how do we win that battle? With a budget, presumably. NerdWallet gives us a clear, 5-step plan for budgeting with step 1.
Step 1, figure out your after-tax income. And NerdWallet clarifies this isn't just what lands in your bank account.
Okay.
It's your take-home pay, plus any deductions you might make, like for your 401k or maybe health insurance. That gives you the true picture of all the money you actually have to work with.
Right, the full amount available. Then what?
Then step 2 is choosing a budgeting system that fits you. Could be the envelope system, zero-based budgeting, or that popular 5-30-20 rule. The main thing is your budget has to cover needs, some wants, and definitely savings for emergencies and the future.
Okay. And step 3?
Tracking. Step 3 is all about tracking your progress. Actively recording where the money goes, maybe using apps or templates, and then crucially, cutting costs where you see you're overspending.
Makes sense. Step 4.
Automate. Automate your savings. Set up those automatic deposits for your emergency fund, investments, retirement. Makes it effortless.
Or at least less effortful.
Exactly. And finally, step 5, NerdWallet says practice budget management. Revisit it regularly. Be willing to try different things if one system isn't clicking. Because the best budget really is just one you'll actually stick to.
Stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah.
And the 50-30-20 rule is often where people start. How does NerdWallet break that down?
Right. So up to 50% of your after-tax income goes to needs. That's groceries, housing, basic utilities, transport, insurance, minimum loan payments, childcare, the essentials.
Got it. 50% needs.
Then 30% for wants. This is the fun stuff. Dinners out, travel, entertainment, gifts. And they emphasize, leaving some wiggle room for enjoyment is important.
Keeps you motivated.
Yeah,
and the last 20%.
That's for savings and debt pay down, anything beyond the minimum payments. Building that future.
And it's important to note, NerdWallet also offers an alternative, right? The 60-20-20 breakdown.
Yeah, exactly. If 50-30-20 feels too tight, maybe 60% for necessities, 20% for wants, 20% for savings retirement. It just highlights that budgeting is flexible. It's about finding what works for you right now, not some rigid, unbreakable rule.
Good point. Find your fit. Okay, so earn, save. Now the third pillar. Invest.
Yes, investing for growth. This is really the engine of wealth building, where your money starts to work for you, and all the sources agree, start early. Start now.
Time in the market, not timing the market.
Precisely. The longer your money is invested, the more powerful it becomes.
And this is where it gets really exciting, right? That power of compounding. Vanguard explains this so well.
Oh, yeah. Compounding it's almost magical. Imagine your investment earns money, and then that money starts earning money too.
Like a snowball rolling downhill.
Exactly. Picking up more snow as it goes. Vanguard illustrates that even a pretty steady, say, 6% annual return can double an investment roughly every 12 years.
Wow.
And if you just leave your earnings in the account, those earnings on earnings eventually grow to be even larger than the earnings on your original investment. That's where consistent action really turns into exponential growth. It's amazing.
It really is. That's your money making money.
Yeah.
So for most ordinary people, what's the recommended way to actually do this investing? Both the First Millionaire Journey, Source, and Vanguard seem to point in a similar direction.
Yeah, they generally recommend investing in broad market, low-cost index funds or ETFs, like an S&P 500 fund or maybe a total market fund.
Okay, for listeners maybe not super familiar,
Sure.
What exactly is an index fund or an ETF? And why is it usually the go-to recommendation?
Great question. So think of an index fund or an ETF that's exchange-traded fund as like buying a single thing that instantly gives you a tiny piece of many, many different companies.
Yeah.
It basically mirrors the performance of a whole market segment like the S&P 500, which tracks 500 large U.S. companies.
So you're diversified right away.
Exactly. Instant diversification. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket. And it generally gives you the market's return without you having to become an expert stock picker. For most people, it's the simplest, most effective strategy.
And it ties into that long-term mindset, right? Not chasing hot stocks or freaking out about daily market swings.
Absolutely. Discipline is key. Stay invested through the ups and the downs. Think long haul, like 10 plus years.
Okay, so beyond those core pillars, earn, save, invest, there are some key milestones, maybe accelerators, that can really supercharge this journey. Both Dave Ramsey and NerdWallet really stress getting rid of high-interest debt immediately. Why is that so critical?
Well, credit card debt, high-interest loans, our sources basically call them wealth destroyers.
Wealth destroyers, strong words.
They are. The interest payments alone can just make it impossible to save or invest effectively. You're just pouring money down the drain, paying extra for money you already spent, often at crazy high rates.
Dave Ramsey's Baby Step 2 really hammers this with his debt snowball method. Can you walk us through that quickly?
Sure. You list all your debts, except the mortgage, from the smallest balance to the largest. You make minimum payments on everything except the smallest one.
Okay.
And you throw every extra dollar you can find at that smallest debt until it's gone. Then you take all the money you were paying on that debt, the minimum plus the extra, and roll it on to the next smallest debt.
Creating a snowball effect with the payment amount.
Exactly. And Ramsey even suggests pausing investing during this step, which is a bit controversial for some, but his focus is on that psychological win, that momentum you build by knocking out debts quickly.
Right, that behavioral aspect. Some advisors might argue for the debt avalanche, paying highest interest first for purely mathematical reasons, but Ramsey really leans into that feeling of progress.
And you hit on why that psychological win can be so important for someone on this journey. NerdWallet, interestingly, they don't push one specific method as hard as Ramsey, but they absolutely agree on tackling what they call toxic debt first. Things like high-interest credit cards, personal loans, payday loans, title loans, rent-to-own stuff.
The really expensive debt.
Yeah, because the interest rates are so high, you could easily end up repaying double or triple what you originally borrowed. It's just a massive drain.
Makes sense. Okay, so debt's crucial. Another big one seems to be the emergency fund. Both sources emphasize this early on.
Absolutely critical. Dave Ramsey's Baby Step 1 is saving a $1,000 starter emergency fund. NerdWallet suggests starting with at least $500 for those small, unexpected things.
Like a car repair or a surprise medical bill.
Exactly. It stops you from going deeper into debt when life happens.
And then there's the fully funded emergency fund.
Right. In Baby Step 3, Dave Ramsey says save 6 months of expenses, but that's after you've paid off all your non-mortgage debt.
Okay, sequence matters there.
Yeah. NerdWallet also prioritizes 6 months, but they specify essential living expenses. Maybe not your full budget, just the bare bones needed to survive. The goal for both is the same, preventing you from having to sell investments at a bad time if you lose your job or face a big emergency.
That's safety net. Okay, so emergency fund secure, high interest debt gone. Then it's time to really focus on a retirement account.
Yes. Now you can really ramp up investing. NerdWallet's priority 2 is simple. Get your employer match on your 401k if you have one.
That's basically free money, right?
Absolutely free money. Don't leave that on the table. A 401k is that workplace retirement plan with tax advantages. An IRA is similar, an individual retirement account you set up yourself.
And how much should we aim to save for retirement?
NerdWallet's priority 4 suggests aiming for 10-15% of your gross income, and that includes any company match you get. If you don't have a 401k or after you get the full match, look into Roth or traditional IRAs.
Okay. And Dave Ramsey?
His Baby Step 4 is similar. Invest 15% of your household income into retirement, but again, only after Baby Steps 1, 2, and 3 are done, the $1K emergency fund, debt payoff, and the fully funded emergency fund.
So get the foundation solid first.
Right. And the tax advantages of these accounts, like 401ks and IRAs, are huge. Tax-free or tax-deferred growth really supercharges that compounding effect we talked about.
Okay, what comes after retirement saving in Ramsey's plan?
Baby Step 5 is saving for children's college. But he's really clear. Prioritize your own retirement first.
Why is that?
His logic is, your kids might not go to college, but you'll definitely retire. You can borrow for college, you can't borrow for retirement. He suggests looking into things like ESAs or 529 plans, which are tax-advantaged college savings accounts plus grants and scholarships.
Makes sense. Your oxygen mask first.
Yeah.
And Baby Step 6.
Pay off the house early. Focus on getting rid of that mortgage to achieve 100% home ownership. Imagine that feeling. No mortgage payment. Total financial freedom.
Incredible. Okay, so beyond these specific steps, The First Millionaire Journey roadmap also highlights something ongoing: continuous financial education.
Yeah, that's key. The financial world is always changing new investment options, tax laws shift, market trends. Staying informed is like a continuous accelerator for your journey.
And as your wealth actually starts to grow, optimizing your tax strategy becomes more important too.
Definitely. Understanding basic things like tax loss harvesting, tax-efficient investing, using deductions. It all helps keep more of your hard-earned money working for you, not going to taxes unnecessarily.
And finally, one more thing from that roadmap: setting clear, written goals.
Yes. Using that SMART framework-specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, break down that big become a millionaire goal into smaller, actionable targets for each year, maybe even each month, makes it feel less daunting, more manageable.
Okay, we've covered the mechanics: earn, save, invest, the key steps. But now let's talk about what really separates people who just know this stuff from those who actually achieve it. That's mindset and discipline, right?
Oh, absolutely. The First Millionaire Journey source makes it crystal clear. These might be the most crucial elements.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. The ability to stay patient, persistent, disciplined, especially through setbacks or when the market goes down. That's huge. Think about Warren Buffett's famous long-term vision. He gets that real wealth is built over decades, not overnight.
It also seems to require embracing delayed gratification.
Definitely. Forgoing that immediate pleasure, the new gadget, the fancy dinner for greater long-term rewards, that's a hallmark of successful wealth builders. That new phone today could literally cost you tens of thousands in future wealth because that money isn't invested in compounding.
That's a powerful perspective shift.
It really is.
And cultivating a growth mindset seems vital too.
Yeah, believing you can learn, you can adapt, you can improve your financial situation no matter where you start. Viewing challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities.
So that unexpected bill isn't just a setback.
Right. It's maybe a chance to refine your budget or even find a new income stream. Turn the problem into a catalyst for positive change.
And surrounding yourself wisely. That comes up too.
Huge factor. Seek out mentors, join communities of like-minded people, maybe distance yourself from negative influences that could undermine your financial goals. Your environment really shapes your decisions, probably more than you realize.
That makes a lot of sense. And also, don't forget to celebrate the small wins along the way.
Yes. Absolutely. Acknowledge your progress. Paid off a credit card, hit a savings milestone, saw your investments start to compound. Celebrate that. It keeps you motivated in what can be a long journey, especially when progress feels slow sometimes.
Keeps the momentum going. And finally, that idea of regular review.
Super important. Set aside time, maybe monthly, maybe quarterly, just to review your financial progress. Adjust the budget if needed, refine your investment strategy. It keeps you accountable, it keeps you on track, and make sure you're always optimizing your path to that first million.
So the journey to your first million, it really isn't some fantasy, is it? It's a real roadmap built on these fundamental principles: earning, saving, investing, done with discipline and vision.
Exactly. And you truly have the power to start on this journey today, no matter where you're starting from.
So after hearing all this, maybe a question for you listening: what's the very first step you're going to take on your millionaire roadmap this week? Even a small one.
Yeah, what's that first action?
And thinking longer term. Dave Ramsey's final baby step, step 7, is build wealth and give. He talks about reaching total financial peace, being able to live and give like no one else, which kind of raises a big provocative question for you to think about. When you imagine reaching that level of financial freedom, that first million or beyond, what legacy do you hope to build, not just for yourself, but maybe for others too?